welcome again to the IBA's weekly bulletin of news and information for the radio and television trade. As the new broadcasting bill makes its way through Parliament, we look at some of the changes that will result from the new legislation, what will replace the IBA, and what implications there'll be for the trade in the brave new world of commercial transmission. In transmitter news, we've the usual roundup of special announcements for established stations, and we have details of two brand new television relays, Lyddon just northwest of Dover, and Great Torrington south of Bideford in North Devon.
We've often reported on progress with the government's plans for the future of broadcasting. It was back in 1988 when it first became clear that a more commercial approach was in the offing. The intention was to offer more competition, choice and quality, as the title of the subsequent white paper implied when it was finally published in November 1988. A great debate ensued, with intensive lobbying of a newly installed broadcasting minister, David Mello, who listened carefully to all viewpoints. An inevitable consequence of all this was to be the eventual replacement of the IBA with three successor bodies: a single regulator for all commercial television, whether satellite, cable or terrestrial, this will be the ITC, a new radio authority to look after all commercial radio, and a commercially run transmission company to replace IBA engineering.
Whatever the implications for the transmission side, there were far greater fears for programme quality. But Mr. Mello warned on this programme that things should not necessarily remain the same for the sake of it.
My predecessor, Tim Renton, once said that the trouble with the ITV situation is that, understandably enough, a lot of the companies want to turn a leasehold into a freehold. Of course they do. And in wanting to do that, they will raise all manner of objections to change. We say that Channel 3 will best flourish when there's a proper balance between quality requirements on the one hand, which will be very strongly featured in the bill, and a proper commercial return to the public for granting a near monopoly of a valuable commodity, television advertising, in a particular part of the country.
The bill was published the following month, and more heated debate followed in Parliament. By the time it had reached the committee stage in the spring, many fears relating to programme quality and variety had been allayed, with some very valuable amendments to the bill. However, as the legislation now moves towards royal assent, the IBA, and commercial broadcasting in general, is bracing itself for substantial changes from the 1st of January 1991.
The IBA will cease to exist at the end of this year, but its offices in London will become, for a year or two, the headquarters of both the Independent Television Commission and the Radio Authority. These will be the regulating bodies, dealing with programming and franchise matters, very largely non-technical, although each body will have a small technical team. The ITC will ultimately be a licensing authority rather than a broadcaster, and the program companies themselves will become the broadcasters and publishers of their material. But the existing ITV franchises don't run out until the end of 1992, so there will be a transitional period when the ITC will maintain some IBA-type responsibilities until the new franchises begin under the new regime proper on the 1st of January 1993.
So what of engineering? Rather than gradual evolution to 1993, transmission functions will change overnight at the end of this year. Not that the viewer will notice the difference. But differences there will be. Commercial radio stations will be able to make their own arrangements for transmission, largely using existing IBA sites and transmitters. Television will continue as normal, but the transmission systems for ITV and Channel 4 will be owned and operated by a new company formed out of IBA engineering. The company is being set up now, and we've been calling it Transcom, for now only a working title. It will be run on commercial lines, with its core customers being the ITV companies and Channel 4. Sometime next year, the company will be sold off by the government as a privatisation.
The transmission company will initially have a privileged commercial position as the only available supplier of television transmission, but the idea is to open up the market after a few years and allow competition for providing these services. It will also develop new business opportunities in non-core areas of broadcasting and telecommunications. And there will be a valuable research and development arm to the company. What there won't be after this year is the level of support to the trade and the public, which has traditionally been provided by the IBA. The program companies will become the main point of reference, although they will be making arrangements to deal with reception queries.
Engineering announcements itself falls into that public service category, which is to feature less and less in commercial broadcasting. There's little prospect of a program such as this continuing after the IBA has gone, and the end may come sooner rather than later. The same could apply to the engineering pages on Oracle Teletext. In fact, the arguments are stronger for a basic text service of updated transmitter information, available almost 24 hours a day. So the changes are already beginning to bite, and it's not just the broadcasters, but also the trade, to some extent, who should now start to prepare for the next phase in British broadcasting.
This week's transmitter news now, starting in Lancashire, where ITV and Channel 4 from Winter Hill are continuing on reduced power during aerial replacement work.
In central Scotland, all 4 channels from Black Hill are liable to periods of daytime reduced power until the end of next week during the installation of the new aerial system.
In northern Scotland, all 4 services from the Rosemarkie transmitter near Inverness will be off the air for one 4-hour and one 6-hour period between today and Friday, and next Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. This is for aerial work, and the interruptions will also affect Rumster Forest and all its relays, as well as Channel 4 only from Grantown and Aviemore. Transmissions from Aitchel, Scrieig, Knockmore, Keelylang Hill and Bressay should not be affected.
In Devon, the St Thomas relay in Exeter will be off the air on 3 mornings this week between 6 and midday for work on the aerial cylinder.
On the Isle of Skye, Scrieig will be off today from 9 AM to 4:30 PM for electricity board work, also affecting 11 other relays on Skye, North and South Uist, Barra, Loch Alsh and Loch Carron.
In the far north of Shetland, the Balter Sound relay on Unst will also be off for electricity board work today between 10 AM and 2 PM.
In Shropshire, the Ludlow relay is due off today from 9:30 AM until 4 PM, again for electricity board work.
And in North Wales, the Betty Coed Dulwich Ellen and Coed Deru relays will be off between 9:30 and 10:30 this morning for an IBA electrical inspection.
Also in North Wales, the Cavan Moa relay between Wrexham and Llangollen will be off between 9:30 and 10:30 on Thursday morning, again for an IBA electrical inspection.
And the same applies to the Crockerton relay on Salisbury Plain, which will also be off between 9:30 and 10:30 on Thursday morning.
In East Sussex, TVS and Channel 4 from the Heathfield transmitter and dependent relays will be off in the early hours of Thursday morning between 2:30 and 6 for electrical work.
In West Yorkshire, the Hag Wood relay between Holmfirth and Huddersfield will be off from 8:30 AM to 4 PM on Thursday for work by the local electricity board.
And for the same reason in South Wales, the Pennar relay near Abercarn will be off on Thursday from 8 AM to 4 PM.
And finally, looking ahead to next week, from Monday, all 4 services from the Wrekin transmitter in Shropshire will begin a 10-day period of reduced power during a BBC aerial overhaul.
Moving on to incremental radio, and Melody Radio began tests last week on 104.9 MHz from our tower at Croydon. This is the first incremental station for Greater London with vertical polarization, which is particularly suitable for people using portable receivers and car radios. Melody plans to broadcast easy listening music, which is likely to appeal mainly to a mature audience, and there will also be regular news and essential information for a potential audience of just under 10 million. Programs are due to start at 7 AM on the 9th of July.
A reminder now that Spectrum Radio, which officially came into service last week, has been allocated 990 kHz as a temporary frequency in addition to the original one of 558 kHz. This is to overcome interference problems caused by Radio Caroline's illicit use of 558 kHz, and Spectrum will transmit on both frequencies until the 558 channel is clear.
In the village of Lyddon, 4 miles to the northwest of Dover, about 470 people will benefit from a new television relay due on the air at the end of this week. Signals from the main station of Dover suffer from severe ghosting in this area, while the alternative, Sudbury, is affected by both adjacent channel and image interference from the Dover transmitter. TVS is the regional ITV service on Channel 39 with Channel 4 on 64. With that wide channel spacing, a Group E aerial will be required, vertically polarized. Lyddon is due on the air at the end of this week.
And due next week, there's a new relay for Great Torrington, about 5 miles south of Bideford in North Devon. This will extend UHF coverage to 390 people in the immediate area who are presently unserved by Huntshaw Cross due to screening by Hills. Television Southwest and TVAM will be on Channel 49 and Channel 4 on 42. The aerial group is B, again with vertical polarisation. That's Great Torrington, due on the air at the end of next week.
And that's all for this week, but do get in touch if you have any technical queries on independent broadcasting. Our address, Engineering Information, Independent Broadcasting Authority, Crawley Court, Winchester, Hampshire, SO21 2QA. Our telephone number is Winchester, that's 0962 822 444. Office hours are 8:30 to 4:30. At other times there's an answering machine. We hope you'll set your VCRs for next Tuesday morning at 5:45 when we'll be taking a seasonal look at transmitting aerial maintenance. And it's not for the faint-hearted. In the meantime, from Janet Solkeld and from me, Adrian Good, goodbye from Crawley Court.